your resource for all things systems and operations so that you can level up your business and live by your own rules. Today, I want to talk a little bit about sacrifices, right? So the sacrifices that you might be making, whether you know it or not, that's actually stopping you, making it harder for you to maintain your six-figure business, and is definitely going to hold you back from growing to multi six figures and beyond. All right. So we're going to talk about those subconscious or those conscious decisions, those sacrifices that you've chosen to make that will actually keep you in this place where you can't grow any further, where your business is really heavy and hard to run. So stay tuned. So when we talk about your business, right, you might be thinking like, hey, it's really normal as a business owner to have to make sacrifices, especially as you are becoming a really successful solopreneur and as you build your team and try to hit those higher levels within your business. But how much do you actually have to sacrifice for your business? And what do you actually sacrifice for your business? And should you be doing it, right? Because there are a lot of decisions and sacrifices that you're going to make in your business so that it can grow, so that it can take it to the next level, that might actually be making it harder for you to grow, make it harder for you to reach that next level, make it harder for you to actually sustain those six figures and beyond, or wherever you're at right now. All right. And those are the things that I want to talk about today, because a lot of times, more often than not, I'd actually say we do them. We make these decisions, we make these sacrifices without even being consciously aware that we're doing it. Right. So when we talk about sacrifices, think about what you let go of. What are the things that you let slide in your business so that you can do more, so that you can feel like you're more productive, so that you can produce more, so that you have more billable hours, so that you feel like you are growing, right? You're doing all the right things, you're maintaining momentum, you're producing, but are you really doing it in a way where you're not giving up big parts of yourself or important parts of yourself, right? So think about, have you ever skipped workouts so that you can keep working, or missed time with your friends or your partner or your kids so that you could work more, right? Or while you're doing self-care, does it feel like a chore, like a check the box moment? Or, when you're in a meditation and telling everybody about how you live like you're really focused on self-care and taking care of yourself and your spiritual well-being, but during your meditations you're worrying about your work, right? So these are all really common areas where I see a breakdown and a sacrifice of our own time, especially if you are just stepping into growing a team and being comfortable with support. These are sacrifices that we make to ourselves that we don't even realize that we're making. It's really easy to break our boundaries to squeeze in one more meeting, one more client, one more email before we go and do the thing. And these are the small sacrifices that add up to really, really big changes or really big issues within the business, because a lot of times we do them in the name of growing our business, right? And to a certain extent, it's praised. It's amazing if you are having these problems where you're like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm super overwhelmed in my business. Well, it's almost a good problem to have. People are like, oh, wow, that's great that you have that problem, that you have so many clients, that you're feeling so overwhelmed that you can't do a yoga class, right? So we kind of think about it in a way where it's like, oh, this is a really good thing. And it makes it a lot easier for us to justify the fact that we're making these little sacrifices to the lifestyle that we actually wanted. Because I'm fairly certain that if you started your own business, that you wanted to attain a certain lifestyle. And these little choices that we make around the things that we let go are they're the easiest, and they're the small sacrifices that we make that actually add up to really big sacrifices that hold us back from having the lifestyle that we actually started our businesses for, right? I know that I've been in this place where, self-care became a thing where I was just checking the box. Like, oh yeah, I got the massage, I got the stretch, I went to meditation, I did the sound bath, but at the same time, I was never really present in those moments because I was always thinking about the next thing that I was going to do to produce, right? Like all of the things for production, for continued growth, right? And those were the subconscious sacrifices that we make. And sometimes we do it on purpose, right? Sometimes we think like, hey, when I get to a certain milestone, then I can focus, I can pull back. But until then, I just got to buckle down and do this thing, right? That's a conscious decision that we make to not get help, to not get support, to, not make changes in our business, even though we know that we have to. Things like, oh, I'm just going to take this client that I know I don't really want to work with. I don't really want to do this project. I don't really want to do this work, but I'll do it because I need to hit X, Y, and Z revenue goal or client goal in order to feel like I can actually make a change, in order to feel like, oh, I'm like a successful business owner. Then I can like make changes to the business. Then I could hire a team. Then I can like stop doing these lower end products or these lower end projects, things like that, right? Those are the sacrifices that we make in our business that actually keep us smaller, right? These are all of the self-sabotaging sacrifices that lead to burnout, right? This is where we start to see the income roller coaster quite a lot, right? Because we are not really nourishing ourselves. We're not really taking care of ourselves to a place where, okay, I'll just do I'll do one more intensive that I don't really want to do, or I'll, continue to sell this package that I don't really like selling, but I'll do it so that I can make like a little hit of revenue and keep the momentum going so I can keep ticking up the roller coaster. But when we get to a certain point, there's always a downturn, right? And this is the problem with making those sacrifices in your business, and especially around making those sacrifices to yourself, because when you get to the top of the roller coaster, right? Like you are at your own capacity and there's always a downside. This is where you have to pull back from marketing because you're so burned out that you don't feel like producing any content, or this is where you pull back from marketing because you're so busy developing and delivering the services you've already sold, or this is where you start to maybe feel a little overwhelmed. You come to your client meetings a little bit flustered and you stop fully showing up for your clients. You stop fully showing up for your launches. These are the things that will impact your overall growth and your ability to maintain where you're at and continue to grow further, right? So that's the trap that I see a lot of successful business owners falling into, because it's a really, really easy trap, right? And it's out there, there's a lot of information that says, hey, you got to continue to grow. And the only way to do that is to sometimes is to buckle down, is to do more, to become more productive. But there's not a lot of guidance out there as to like, well, what do I have to actually do? What do I actually have to put in place in order to do this in a sustainable way, right? So that I can continue to grow, that I can continue to tick up the roller coaster without facing such deep swings down the roller coaster. And then before we start to tick back up, right? So the things that I would say around sacrificing are that it really becomes easy for us as business owners to start to sacrifice the parts of ourselves, right? Like, because we're the business owner, we're the ones who are the ultimate donor. You can continue to give to it because it was your business baby to begin with. However, these are the places where you really should pull back because that's where you're going to be able to keep tight to your vision, really be able to focus and gain clarity, and actually put into place and implement the projects that are going to make a difference to your foundation. Because all of these challenges, all of these sacrifices that you put out there that are so easy around, sacrificing your own time, sacrificing your own well-being, sacrificing, your own energy, all of those things are really there because you don't have a strong foundational base in place in order to really sustain the business. So you just think it's like, oh, it needs more donation, it needs more time. Like, I got to pump more of my lifeblood into it, or my team needs to pump more of its lifeblood into the business. But then it's kind of like, okay, you're pouring your energy into the sieve, you're pouring your energy into the business, but there's no stop at the bottom. It's just a funnel that's open and you just keep pouring it out, right? So at the end of the day, the challenge with all of the sacrifices that you're making in order to maintain your business are actually an issue with the foundation of your business, right? Like, it means that the business wasn't built as a container. It was built kind of as a funnel or a sieve that has tons of holes in it. So things are flowing out and you're not able to like contain all of the energy that you're really putting into the business so that it can grow on its own, right? Like, I like to think of it, it's like, okay, it's like planting a tree in a colander or a strainer where, okay, I'm putting in all the soil, I'm putting in all the nutrients, but it's all kind of falling out all over the place and the roots never really have a chance to take hold versus planting in a big ceramic pot, or out in a garden where you're like, okay, yes, I can put my energy, I can put the soil in, I can put the water into it, and the roots will take hold and it will grow on its own after I've kind of done my part in planting, in putting in the time and energy at the beginning, at the onset, to really make sure that those roots and that foundation was there. That is the challenge. And that is really where your sacrifices are coming into place, because your business container is not set. You don't have that firm foundation in place to really build a sustainable business that can grow, that can produce, that can keep going beyond just yourself. So you're constantly on the roller coaster like this, where you're like, oh, I'm pushing. Now I'm at capacity, and now I'm on the downswing again because now I'm busy. Now I'm overwhelmed. Now I can't do any of my self-care. Now I'm delivering. Now I'm, needing to push and fill in the gaps for my team. So, and then you come into a downswing before you start to pick things up again, right? And that's what you want to step away from if you want to have a sustainable six-figure business. If you want to sustain where you're at with your six figures, if you want to go beyond that, you have to reset the foundation and plug the gaps so that you can actually put your energy into growing the tree, the business tree that will be able to do it without you, without so much of your effort and energy going into it and just kind of spilling all over the place and not really being directed in a way that will sustain your growth. All right, so if you want to go a little bit deeper into what it really takes to build a self-sustaining six-figure business, what do you really need to have in place? What shifts need to happen right now in order for you to implement? And what are the mistakes that you need to look out for? Then come to my masterclass on Wednesday, July 14th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to be going over my exact formula to make sure that you avoid all of the mistakes that I outlined here and more. And I will be sharing my 3S formula for sustainable six-figure growth. I'll go over the exact components that you need in your business in order to sustain your six figures, go to multi-six figures, and have it be easier than ever before. All right. The link to sign up is in my bio, and I hope to see you there. Until next time, bye guys.